Parshat Shmini, Shmini, the eighth day. The tabernacle has been completed. Oh, that building project, done. Okay, now it's time to move in. And time for the holy Levites, and especially the Kohanim, to do their thing. These are the priests. And they do everything mikdakdek. They do everything according to the specific instructions that they have been giving. So I ask you, what does the jazz artist Monty Alexander have to do with the priests? Well, as any consummate artist, Monty Alexander must have practiced a lot to get down the discipline of his craft, to be able to play the melody straight and clear so that you recognize it for what it is. Here's Monty Alexander playing a few phrases from Fly Me to the Moon, and then he's going to improvise on that. Now, based upon the structure of the song, now he leaps into spontaneity. Same chord structure. Wow, huh? Isn't that fantastic? I hope you think so too, because this is what we're going to be taking a leap into. Parshat Shmini. Structure and improvisation. The Parsha includes the story of Nadav and Avihu. They are two of Aaron's sons. They are priests. They are Kohanim. They have learned all the specific instructions of bringing the sacrifices before God. But there are many commentaries about why they leap into spontaneity. Perhaps some passion to be even closer to Hashem? Who knows? Vayikchu v'nei Aharon Nadav v'Avihu ish machtakto vayitnu vahen eish vayasimu aleha ketoret vayakrivu lifnei Adonai eish zara asher lo tziva otam. Now Aaron's sons Nadav and Avihu each took his fire pan, put fire in it, and laid incense on it, and they offered before Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh alien fire. In other words, something that they had not been specifically instructed to do. Vatetzei eish milfanei Adonai milifnei Adonai v'tochal otam v'yamutu lifnei Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. And fire came forth from Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh and consumed them. Thus they died at the insistence of God. What was so bad? What did they do that was so wrong? What is the problem with being spontaneous? Well, apparently there is if you're a Kohen and you've got specific instructions of how to bring forth the sacrifices. Here's what Rashi has to say about it. On the verse Le'enei Kol Yisrael, that this, and now this is not talking about Nadav and Abihu. This is talking about a different example of spontaneity in Torah that is accepted. Not only accepted, it is raised hat. Go for it, boy. All right. It's so what happened, Le'enei Kol Yisrael, in the eyes of all Israel? Moshe descends from the mountain and sees the people doing what? Cavorting and gallivanting before the Egel Zahav, doing their thing, having a party, celebration before the golden calf. Shenasu libo lishbor haluchat le'eneihem, right? So it came up in Moshe's heart when he saw it to shatter the luchot, the tablets le'einechem, in their eyes, before their eyes. V'hiskima da'at HaKadosh Baruch Hu ladato. And it rose in the consciousness of Yud-Heh Vav-Heh that this was not just okay to do in this context, Asher Shabart, that you have destroyed them, that you have shattered the tablets. But what does Hashem say to Moshe? Yashakach, shkayach, shkayach. I'm not sure God used that, Brooklyn accent, but shkach, all the power to you. This is what you should have done. Oh, so, no? What's the difference, I ask, between a prophet, which Moshe was, and Nadav and Avihu, who were priests? What's the difference between a prophet and a priest that caused different outcomes in these two different situations, and two very, very similar situations at that? The Kohen, every priest follows God's instruction to the letter. From this week's Parsha, Yud-Heh Vav-Heh said to Aaron, take a calf of the herd for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering without blemish, and bring them before God. Take a he-goat for sin offering, a calf and a lamb, yearlings without blemish, for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for an offering of well-being to sacrifice before Yud-Heh Vav-Heh with a meal offering with oil mixed in. This is pretty darn specific. Follow the instructions. I have some people who I know who, when they open up something, when they get it in the mail, they don't look at the instructions. They start building it right away. And then later on, they got to look at the instructions. In the same way that sometimes I stubbornly will not call the plumber, but will try something on my own, thinking that I know how to do it with no experience whatsoever, and then eventually I'm going to have to follow Renee's instructions and call the plumber. The prophet, though, is an improviser. In Sanhedrin, in Masechet Sanhedrin, ve'ein shnei nevi'im mitnavi'im besignun achad. No two prophets use the same style. So of all the Nevi'im that we know, from Ishayahu, from Isaiah, through Jeremiah, through Micah, through all of them, they're all different. They all have similar messages, but it's all based upon the singular melody of us being in God's ways, of us being in the image and likeness of God and behaving such. So, structure versus spontaneity. Let's take a look at prayer, for instance. There's an open prayer book. Prayer is fixed. Every word in there has been carefully thought out. A lot of it has been passed down for centuries, right? But even in prayer, there is an opportunity for spontaneity. Think about this. In Shachrit and Mincha, you have the repetition of the Amidah. Why? Because this is kind of like a melding together, a fusing together two different traditions. One in which says that prayer should all be fixed, and the other one that says, no, prayer should be spontaneous. We should offer that which comes from our heart at this moment. The first is from Rabbi Gamliel. The second is from, oh my gosh, I did it again. I forgot his name. That's the one with the tanur. Anyway, if anybody remembers, just put it into the chat. In any case, we have two Amidas in the morning, right? If prayer is substituting for sacrifice, that's the one that needs to be fixed, because that is in the Kohen's tradition. That has to be exactly as the instructions. But in the silent prayer, we get to offer our own offerings of the heart in various places. Especially pay attention in the Shema Kolenu. There's a fill in the blank part there where we can pray for whatever we want. In the evening, no. In the temple days, there was no offering brought. And so, no, there's no repetition of the Amidah. There's no modeling after the priestly the priestly model, but only after the prophetic model, in which we get an opportunity to say what we need to say. Spontaneity, really, really important in music and arts. But so is discipline, is it not? So is having a knowledge, a basic knowledge of your instrument, of your medium, of your body. Because before you improvise, you got to know the basics. And of course, both are important in life. Structure gives order, discipline, and accountability. And I chose that photograph there because that young woman has a very, very neat desk. And so I'm kind of looking at there's nothing that is disturbing her from and taking her down rabbit holes, although, she's online, she's probably doing that anyway. But there's a sense of order to that desktop. On the other hand, there's that cartoon where, like, woo, spontaneity has inbuilt creativity, innovation, and going with the flow. So, coming in for a landing here, I ask you, do you prefer a predictable daily routine or constant spontaneity, or a combination of the two, represented by our prayer book? Do you find that you do better when your days are planned, or better when you're winging it, or a combination of the two? Have you found your sweet spot between structure and spontaneity in your life? And finally, ask yourself this question, and this is going to come up in the breakthrough rooms. Are you more priest? Are you more prophet? Are you indeed a combination of the two? So on this Shabbos day, may our blessing that we all come to that sweet spot where we live a life where the structure serves us being spontaneous, and may everything we do be filled with love. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.